Welcome to Crypto Calling. Today's guest is Aakarsh Naidu. He is the co-founder of Signa X, and I talked to him about business development in the Metaverse, our own BFG Superstars program, and how his experience was to found a startup with his own brother. Welcome to this week's episode of the Crypto Calling podcast. Today's guest is Aakarsh Naidu. He is the co-founder of Signa X, which is one of our BFG Superstar startups, and I'm thrilled to have him here with me today. Aakarsh, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Felix. It's my pleasure to be on this podcast. Having heard this before, it's a great honor to be on this show with you.
Thank you so much. I mean, today you come out of the listener's perspective and you go into the speaker's perspective. Starting off with our first question, who are you? What does Signa X do, and how did you get into this crazy world of blockchain?
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Felix. So I'm Aakarsh Naidu. I'm an alumnus of the London School of Economics. I come from the world of startups and innovation primarily. I used to head one of Asia's top startup incubators at this institution called IIM Bangalore, where I interacted with over 300 plus startups, helping them from idea to investment, taking them through to exits. So having worked with startups closely, I always had an interest to work in the space of emerging technologies, where the future is headed, and how can I be part of that? So that's something that I had an inclination towards. And shortly after that, I also was leading the startup and developer programs for Meta or Facebook in India and South Asia, where I was working closely with a lot of startups in the AR, VR space, in the emerging technology space, where they could leverage Facebook's technology and sort of take it to market. So that was my first sort of exposure into sort of what you call the immersive experience world or the AR VR world, and also the fact that how Facebook was also looking to build communities together in a digital format, and Metaverse seemed to be the logical next step in terms of bringing people together in a single platform. So that was sort of the thought process, but I wanted to start something of my own. So me, along with my brother Adhikar, we started a venture called Startupreneur, where we were working closely to help startups, mainly entrepreneurs, develop their ideas in a very, very immersive and experiential format. So we developed a platform, what we called as an experiential learning platform, where entrepreneurs were able to kind of build their business plans and take it to market. We also work closely with incubators, and that venture got acquired. But what at the core, at the deep driving personality that I'm always passionate about building ecosystems. That's how my first venture was in the space of building the startup ecosystem, something that looked into the future, but also focused on bridging the existing gaps so that we can have a far better output as in terms of how startups are created. In a similar fashion, Signa X was born with the intent of creating a better ecosystem to develop the metaverse in the future. So what we sort of did with Signa X was primarily me and Adhikar shared common interests. Not apart from being co-founders, we also wanted to see where the future lied ahead, and that metaverse space was something that was a common interest of ours, and we sort of joined hands together and said, the primary thesis of why Signa X actually happened because Web 2 is more of a 2D version of the internet, and Web 3 is more of a 3D version of the internet. We sort of started asking the questions like, who are going to be the builders of the metaverse? It is people who are going to create these 3D experiences, 3D models, 3D assets, which are going to be the future of the metaverse. So how do we really get them together, build it through our platform in a much more scalable and responsible manner? I think that's how the idea for Signa X was born. But also just, to sum up, one of the key driving factors behind us entering into the blockchain world or the metaverse world has been the BFG Superstars program, because we've already been working on this idea, but this really gave us a platform to enter the Web3 world and really start and scale our venture, so to say.
Yeah, we'll definitely cover some of those questions later in this interview. Your brother was part of a previous episode, which I really enjoyed, and he outlined what Signa X does. Can you give us like a very brief rundown again for those who have not listened to that episode? What does Signa X do, and which problem does it solve?
Yes. So I'll just quickly start with the problem statement. Today, everyone believes that Metaverse is going to be the next $1 trillion opportunity, the next big thing in the technology world. But there are certain barriers that are currently stopping the Metaverse from exploding to its full potential. So there are three major problems that we sort of identified. One is the access to technology. So where do people experience the Metaverse? Is it through phones or laptops or the goggles or these devices? Accessibility to these devices is currently missing, and it requires really high-powered engines to run projects, based on the Metaverse primarily. So technology was the first pain point. The second pain point, which was around accessibility or the entry points. Where do people really access the Metaverse? How do they know that a Metaverse exists, and how do they engage and interact with it on a regular basis? And the third problem statement is around the cost of entering the Metaverse. That is the problem statement that we are trying to solve through Signa X. Currently, it is really, really expensive for any individual player to enter the Metaverse or be in a play-to-earn gaming ecosystem, because the digital assets that are currently traded on the marketplace are really, really expensive, which is prohibiting players, users like you and me to really enter the Metaverse, in a very, very cost-effective manner. So this is happening primarily because of a few reasons. That production of digital assets is limited, because most of the Metaverse projects and play-to-earn gaming projects have small teams of 3D asset creators who are able to produce only a limited number of experiences and assets. Therefore, the supply is limited and the cost is higher. So we at Signa X are trying to solve the problem by creating a seamless digital asset production process for the Metaverse and GameFi projects, where we are optimizing the entire process, right from curating the right set of designers to producing the customized and curated set of assets and experiences for the Metaverse world, and also being able to mint it and bring these assets on chain, and being able to lease it out, so that the cost of creating and using these assets comes down quite significantly.
Yeah. So looking at the sector from not from the real outside, but from a little further outside than you guys, obviously, I always think that the two factors are basically cost and the time to market, and also cost is always dependent on the quality that you want to get, and if you want to do it right, so cost explodes usually. Yes. All right, so we understood that. How did you get into the Blockchain Founders Group? How did you first experience the program, and how did you see the entire process?
Yeah, so I think me and Adhikar, both of us were, since we were already looking out for some programs which were more based on a venture studio or a venture builder model, because we already had some idea as to what we wanted to solve, but we really needed a platform that was not like a traditional incubator. In a traditional incubator, you come with your own idea, and then it's up to really you to take it to the market. But we also wanted a place where we get the right kind of expertise to build a startup in the blockchain space. So both of us were sort of exploring for programs within the space, and I think we got a referral of this program from our known networks, that this program is coming up, the BFG Superstars program is coming up, and then we happened to apply to the program. And yeah, I can talk lots and lots about how the program has really transformed us. I think more on that in your sort of following questions, if you have any on that.
Yeah, just give me an example of how you grew through it, and also how you as a team I'm always interested in how people do stuff before such an incubator program, especially because you have been, you have had your startup experience, you've built ecosystems and stuff like that. So you come with your previous experience, and then what was added on top of that? Like if you are a startup veteran, what can you still learn?
Okay, yeah, absolutely. In two words, it's a brilliantly crafted program, and I'm saying this as an ecosystem or a startup enabler myself, having run incubators before. This program was very, very practical, down to the extent of each and every activity on the program was targeted towards actually building your venture and not necessarily towards providing knowledge and expertise which happens as part of the program, but it is also very, very practical in terms of the templates that they give. Initially, it's really, really helpful for entrepreneurs because they spend hours on end just to reinvent the pitch deck template, or to try and understand what are the specific steps that we need to take. So in essence, the whole program at the BFG Superstars program gave us a step-by-step approach to building our venture, because there were different phases in which we validated our idea. So the first process was around stakeholder interviews, where we tried to understand the demand for an idea like this. We did a bit of interviews, then then also did some secondary research. So apart from stakeholder interviews, we had gone into more depth of understanding the business model side of things. Then of course, we actually went into building the MVP or the prototype to a large extent through the course of the program, and that was the key sort of takeaway. The weekly meetings were quite effective for us, because the weekly stand-up meetings is where you had to come back and discuss with your peers and the BFG team as to what the progress has been. So that kept us motivated. There was an element of competition as well as collaboration throughout the entire program. So that was quite intuitive, and the BFG team in general was very, very helpful, as in when we needed any sort of resources, we just had to ask, and we kind of got support, so to say. So I would say a brilliantly executed program, and it is targeted towards serious founders. That's something that I kind of realized, that people who are execution oriented, people who are really wanting to get become full-time entrepreneurs in the blockchain space, there is really that kind of a support ecosystem. So anyone who's wanting to apply and who's really serious, I would suggest that someone who's really keen on building a venture in the blockchain space, this is like a solid program to be part of.
I mean, we're obviously liking that kind of a feedback. I wanna switch gears a little bit. Yes. You are founding this company together, or you have founded this company together with your brother. How does that work? I asked him the same question actually, and he basically said, all right, I'm kind of the finance guy, you are more the business development kind of guy. So how did you what's the peculiarities in working with family?
No, I think we realized a lot about working with each other. One, each other as brothers or siblings. That you get to know each other at a different vantage point. But when you become co-founders, you really know what kind of value each one brings to the table, and how do you really tackle each one's thought process. Because we, as my brother, my co-founder would have pointed out, that we have complementary skill sets. So there are hard skills and there are the soft skills. So in terms of the hard skills purely, I mean the domain expertise that we brought together individually from our own work experiences. That's something that, of course, I came from the world of business development, partnerships. So any new idea that we kind of co-found together, I can quickly take it to market by getting a few partners on board, building the network and the ecosystem around it very, very quickly. So that's something that I can do. Whereas Adhikar has got a very product-oriented mindset given his experience, and also has got a very strong operational bent of mind. So that's a good area where we balance each other out. That I get to do what I like, the most, and I focus on the areas that I tend to do well at. Adhikar tends to focus on his areas. But also in terms of pure play, the mindset, skill set is one aspect, and there is mindset. I think that's a very, very nuanced aspect which we learned quite later on in our journey. Is that I'm more of a builder and he's more of a scaler. When I say builder, like the purely on a mindset perspective, although his function involves that him to build a product, but I tend to look at the 0 to 1 element of things, where how do we get the basics in place? How do we get a basic kind of working model? How do we get our first set of customers? How do we really get the first set of investors? I'm trying to build the base level of the project or the startup. And Adhikar, as a person, he's someone who can think 10x in terms of really scaling his ideas. So that's where we realize that we complement each other. Where I'm sort of put a foundation, and then he's able to scale, and then I we complement each other at different levels, both functionally and emotionally and mentally in terms of how the venture is built. Of course, yeah. So that's a great learning, and we also know, I think it's really important to listen to each other at different points, because I may have a certain outlook on things, and he may have a different way of looking at it. So sometimes we need to know and take a judgment call on who is right on that particular decision. That's been a key learning for both of us as founders, because I may have a certain aspect, certain way of thinking, which may be good from a general perspective, but I know there have been certain times when Adhikar's judgment calls have actually proven to be match winners for us. So I guess that's where we sort of know when to take each other's opinions, and we say, okay, this time we tend to give references of, last time we did this, we took this approach, we did this was the learning, and that I said this the last time, and this is how it turned out. So let's take reference from that situation, and let's put it in context, and that's how we kind of arrive at agree on certain things, and we move forward.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear that there is such a chemistry. I asked Adi the same question. What are the next steps? And I expect your answer, as you're more of a builder rather than a scaler, to be slightly different. So yeah,
yes.
What's the next big thing coming up with Signa X?
Yes. So I think for us, the vision is quite simple. We want to be the builders of the metaverse and GameFi communities mainly, and we want to really become the go-to place for digital asset creation in a sense, where 3D asset creators want to be on the Signa X platform, because it really gives them the kind of opportunities and experiences in the metaverse world. And for the metaverse projects, this has to become a credible source for them to acquire assets and build curated experiences for their respective worlds. So we really want to build this entire ecosystem from a Web3 perspective, and also being cognizant of the fact that there has to be a transition from the Web2 to the Web3 world, and most of these projects and creators have to transition into the Web3 format, and that's something that we also want to support with. So yeah, I guess the future looks quite interesting, because the use cases around metaverse are increasing drastically. One of the major use cases of metaverse was gaming so far, but now it's gone into education, healthcare, training, esports, banking, future of work, digital twinning, manufacturing. There are like hundreds and hundreds of use cases being explored across different industries, for which we will require builders of the metaverse, and that's something that Signa X wants to be part of.
Right. Sounds like a great vision right there. We are approaching the end of this episode. The standard housekeeping question in the end is, where can we find you? Any links, any communities you would like to direct our listeners to?
Yes, absolutely. So I think our LinkedIn page, Signa X LinkedIn page, is quite quite active, and we recently started sort of engaging on Twitter, and we have a Discord community as well. Of course, the website would be the best place to kind of engage with in about a week from now, where the platform will go live in about a week to 10 days from now, where you can actually, any potential asset creator or metaverse project can actually log on to the platform and experience it. So yeah, we're really excited for all of you to be a part of the experience. And yeah, personally, I can be reached out on LinkedIn, and be happy to network and connect with you all.
Awesome. That's I guess very, clear where people can find you now. All that's left is that I have to thank you for this good episode. I really enjoyed talking to you. I will definitely follow you guys and how this whole thing works out. And yeah, that is all for now. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Felix. I would say it was really quick. It flew. Time flew. It was faster than expected. Yeah. It was great fun to be part of the show.